Lee Remick's real life was just as interesting as the roles she played in movies. Lee was more than just a great actress. She was known for her parts in famous movies like The Omen and Anatomy of a Murder. It was hard to miss her in Hollywood. People talked about more than just her job, though. Lee's home life was just as interesting as his work life. Her ties with her children and husband Kip Goins, as well as the sad events that led to her untimely death. Why did such a beautiful woman end up in such a sad way? And how did she build up such a large net worth despite all the problems she had? Come with us as we tell the moving and interesting story of Lee Remick's life, her work, her family, and the things she left behind. Don't miss this. Lee Remick was born on December 14, 1935, in Quincy, Massachusetts. His mother was named Lee Ann Remick, and her family had roots in the area. The store Remick's department store, which her father, Francis Edwin Remick, or Frank, ran, was one of the biggest and best known in Quincy. It was his father, Alfred, who opened the store, and after Alfred died, it was given to Frank. Lee would often go back to the shop to reconnect with customers and staff, even though she was becoming more famous. This showed a side of her that was rooted in her family's history. Gertrude Margaret Waldo, better known as Patricia or Pat, Lee's mother, was a stage actor herself and wanted her daughter to follow in her footsteps. Bruce Waldo Remick was Lee's bigger brother. He was born on May 6, 1933, and was 2.5 years older than her. Lee's parents split up when she was only 7 years old. Frank, her dad, stayed in Quincy to keep running the department store, but Pat and her kids moved to New York City. Pat put Lee in Miss H. Witt's, a fancy school for girls on the Upper East Side, when she went to New York. That's where Lee's future in the performing arts began to take shape. If Lee, then 16 years old, saw an ad for dancers for summer stock, she lied about her age to get the job. She was in 10 different shows in the course of 10 weeks. When she was given the chance to read for a part in the Broadway play Be Your Age, she played a sarcastic teen and got her big break. There wasn't much time for the play, but it was enough to get Lee a contract and put her on the path to fame. Lee Remick worked hard for the next 5 years, trying out for and getting several parts on live TV. She was in a number of well-known shows, such as Robert Montgomery Presents, Armstrong Circle Theater, Playhouse 90, and Studio One. The show on Robert Montgomery Presents in May 1956 was what made director Elia Kazan notice her. Kazan was looking for people to be in his movie A Face in the Crowd, which stars Andy Griffith, Patricia O'Neill, and Tony Franciosa. He was looking for someone to play a Southern high school girl and an attractive baton twirler. Lee had never worked in film before, and since she was from the North, she didn't know how to swing a baton or do an accent that would work for the part. Lee was still eager to get the part, even with these problems. A few months before filming started, she went to Piggott, Arkansas, which was already picked as the small southern town where the movie would take place. She stayed with the Robson family, whose husband ran a school their wife taught, and their 15-year-old daughter Amanda was the drum majorette at school. Lee and Amanda spent a lot of time together while Amanda was there. Lee practiced spinning the baton and learned how to talk and act in a Southern way. This event helped Lee build one of the main ideas behind how she does her work. During her work, she was known for putting everything she had into her roles. Before taking on a role, she would often spend months learning about the character and their background. Lee Remick wasn't the only new person in the room. It was also the first movie that Andy Griffith made. After the movie came out, Griffith thought about how dark and serious his part was and vowed never to play a role like that again. He kept his word and didn't. At first, people didn't like the movie, but as time went on, it became known and is now thought of as a classic. One thing that changed for Lee, though, was the movie. Soon after she was seen in the crowd, she was offered a 7-year deal by 20th Century Fox. This was a huge boost for her career. Lee got married to director Bill Colleran on August 3, 1957, the same year that A Face in the Crowd came out. They went on a year-long relationship before getting married. They met in August 1956. Before Lee made her second movie, The Long Hot Summer, she and her husband moved to Los Angeles. In the movie, she played the seductive wife of Tony Franciosa's character, Jodie Varner. She used her perfected Southern accent once more to make her stand out from the crowd. She got to work with big names in Hollywood like Orson Welles, Paul Newman, and Joanne Woodward on the part. Lee got a story for a movie called Anatomy of a Murder from director Otto Preminger after rapping all summer long and while she was pregnant with her first child. Before she was even done reading it, Preminger called her to tell her that Lana Turner had been cast in the part she was first offered. Lee turned down a second lead part, which surprised him. This showed how sure she was of herself and her ability to pick the right projects for herself. Lee Remick had her daughter Catherine on January 1, 1959. She was 23 years old at the time. Soon after Kate was born, Lee got a call that he wasn't expecting. Otto Preminger fired Lana Turner from Anatomy of a Murder because she didn't agree with his choice of clothes. Turner insisted on dressing in expensive clothes even though the script called for clothes from the store. Even so, Preminger still wanted Lee to play the part. First, Lee thought the call was a joke, so she hung up. But the caller called her back right away to let her know it was real. Lee was asked to play the wife of Ben Gazzara's character, a soldier who had killed a guy who had raped his wife. The movie was very dramatic, and the fact that Preminger is known for being a tough director didn't help. Lee had just given birth and was nursing at the time. She told Preminger that anything that made her upset could make her breast milk go bad. It kept him from giving her too much trouble on set, so who knows if it really did a thing. Lee also became close with her co-star James Stewart while the movie was being made. She later said that Stewart taught her the best acting lessons she had ever gotten from another actress. She is up for a Golden Globe for her work. After the show Anatomy of a Murder, Lee was in These Thousand Hills with Don Murray and Richard Egan. Next, in 1960, she worked with Montgomery Clift and Joe Van Fleet in Wild River, which was directed by Elia Kazan, a friend she had known for a long time. This was her first work with Kazan since A Face in the Crowd. In the end, Kazan said that Wild River was his best movie as a director. In Tennessee in the 1930s, the Tennessee Valley Authority TVA was moving people to make room for a dam. This is when the movie took place. Kazan had to make Montgomery Clift swear that he wouldn't drink during the show, and with the help of Lee and Joe Van Fleet, Clift kept his promise. Lee remembered him as a little bird that had been hurt, and she thought that their support was very important in helping him get through the movie. Lee Remick got terrible news while shooting in Tennessee. Bill Colleran, her husband, had been in a terrible car accident and was barely alive. Bill had worked non-stop on a Frank Sinatra TV show all day and night. Due to worries about her husband's health, Lee and her mother Pat took a plane right away from Tennessee to Los Angeles. They stayed at the Beverly Hills Hotel for a week because they didn't know what would happen next but needed to be close to Bill. Lee was shocked to find that Frank Sinatra, who she didn't know very well at the time, had already paid the room bill. It was a surprise act of kindness that moved her deeply. Lee and Bill's second child, Matthew Remick Karen, was born on June 7, 1961. The next year, in 1962, Lee gave one of her best efforts in Days of Wine and Roses, which starred Jack Lemmon. Lee was nominated for an Academy Award for the movie, which shows the dark and painful realities of alcoholism. This further solidified her reputation as one of Hollywood's most versatile and skilled actors. Lee was in the 1963 movie The Wheeler Dealers with James Garner and Phil Harris. The next year, in 1964, she joined Angela Lansbury in the cast of Anybody Can Whistle, a short-lived Broadway musical. Even though Lansbury didn't like her part, the show ended after only a few performances, ending a short but memorable part of Lee's career. Lee Remick and Michael Caine worked together on Baby the Rain Must Fall in 1965. It was at that time that Lee was making $400,000 per movie, but the movies she was making were getting worse. Lee wasn't used to playing lead parts in movies like Hallelujah Trail, which starred Burt Lancaster and Jim Hutton. Lee did have a big chance to shine on Broadway in 1966, though, with a lead part in Wait Until Dark. Robert Duvall was her co-star in his first show on Broadway. Lee said she took the job because it would help her balance work and home life. She planned to be at the theater at 8 p.m. and home by 11:30. In order to get ready, Lee spent a month living as her role at the Lighthouse Foundation for the Blind. When it started on February 2, 1966, the play was seen by 374 people. Lee had become so used to her role by the end of the run that she could repeat her lines while thinking about the things she needed to do at home. Lee made fun of the fact that she was an actress by saying, "I'm a housewife who is incidentally an actress." But her amazing performance earned her a Tony Award for Best Actress. During his time working with James Coburn in Europe in 1969, Lee met William Kip Goins, who was an assistant director. They fell in love, and soon after, Lee filed for divorce from Bill Colleran, her husband of 11 years. Bill continued to have a successful career as a producer and director of big TV shows after they broke up, but he never got married again. Bill Colleran had a stroke on June 15, 2000, and died at the age of 77. He was living at the Motion Picture and Television Fund Hospital in Woodland Hills, California. After ending his marriage to Valerie Garin, a British actor who was 30 years his junior, on December 18, 1970, Lee Remick married Kip Goins. Lee was added as a co-respondent to the divorce case. Lee and Kip moved to England after getting married, where Lee continued her acting job while she was living abroad. In 1973, she co-starred with William Holden in The Blue Knight, for which she was nominated for another Emmy. Lee got a lot of awards in 1974 for her role as Jenny in Lady Randolph Churchill, and in 1976 she played with Gregory Peck in the famous movie The Omen. By 1979, she had a part in the TV movie Ike, The Warriors, which starred Robert Duvall. Lee and Kip went back to California in the end so they could be closer to writing movie scripts. In Osterville, Massachusetts, they bought a house and land and lived there for 12 years, alternating their time between that area and California. Lee always thought of Cape Cod's Osterville as her real home. In the 1980s, Lee and Kip worked together on a number of TV shows such as The Women's Room and Rearview Mirror. Lee once said, "You can't plan or map out a career. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time." Frank Remick, Lee's dad, died in 1983. He was 73 years old. Lee Remick went into business with actor James Garner, TV director Peter Dutchell, and another actor named James Garner in 1988. In May 1989, just 1 year later, Lee finished Dark Holiday, which would be her last movie. It was shot in England. Not long after finishing the movie, she got the terrible news that she has cancer that will kill her. Lee began her fight against the disease with a variety of treatments, such as new drugs, chemotherapy, and having a kidney taken out. She told her close friend, the British actor Jill Ireland, who was also fighting cancer, about how hard things were for her. It was found that Charles Bronson's wife, Jill, had breast cancer. The two women worked together to raise money for cancer studies. Jill died in May 1990 from breast cancer, which was very sad. Lee's cancer went into remission in 1990, and she returned to the stage for a short time in a production of A Little Night's Music in Los Angeles. But in the spring of 1991, she got the terrible news that her cancer had come back. She got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6104 Hollywood Boulevard on April 29, 1991, even though she had heard the news. Her best friend Jack Lemmon was there with her. Lee had always thought of Jack as her favorite performer. Lee's health had gotten a lot worse by that time. She was weak, and the medicines had made her face swell up. She died on July 2, 1991 at 5:15 p.m. from kidney and liver cancer just 2 months after that, at her California home in Brentwood with her family around her. She was 55 years old. A lot of Hollywood stars came to Lee's funeral, and Jack Lemmon and Gregory Peck spoke at her service. Her kids, Kate and Matt, showed their respect by singing the title song from her Broadway show, Anyone Can Whistle. Lee wanted to be burned, and her ashes were given to her family. Her beloved home in Osterville, Massachusetts, was split between her husband Kip and her 2 children, Kate and Matt, after she died. As part of the deal, Kip could stay there as long as he wanted or until he moved. After Lee died, Kip stayed there for a few years, but as his health started to get worse, he moved back to England to live with his daughter. Many fans and co-workers wrote messages to Remick after she died, going into more detail about how great she was. Jack Lemmon, an actress, said that working with Remick was still one of the best things she had ever done. She called the late actor precious and full of grace. James Stewart, another co-worker, said that Remick was a great person, a friend, and an actor who made a difference. Charles Bronson, Angela Lansbury, and Gregory Peck are some of the other movie stars who said nice things about her $8 million stars Cape estate. When the famous actress Lee Remick died in 1991, she left behind her beautiful home on the water in Osterville, Massachusetts, which had a view of North Bay. She gave the land to her 2 kids and her husband of 21 years. A TV producer named William Kip Goins. Kip Goins is now trying to sell the estate, which has gone up in value a lot since she died 17 years ago. The $1 million house is currently the subject of a court case between the 2 grown children, who are trying to figure out how much the property and its belongings are worth. The 3 heirs will each get a share of the money from the sale of the colonial-style house from 1934. The house has a deep water dock and some of the best views on Cape Cod. A bridge and causeway link the property to the mainland. It is one of only 2 homes on Pine Island. Real estate dealer Jack Large says that the house has some of the best views on Cape Cod with a full 360-degree view of Osterville Harbor and Nantucket Sound. People are interested, but there has been no sale yet. Lee Remick had been to the Cape before. The shop her family ran, Remick's, was where she grew up in Quincy. When she was 16, her first acting job was at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis. She was already a Hollywood star when she bought the Osterville estate in 1979. She was known for her parts in movies like Days of Wine and Roses, with Jack Lemmon, and The Omen, with Gregory Peck. Lee and her family lived in Osterville for 12 wonderful years before she died too soon at age 55. From $2 million in 1995 to its present market value of $8 million, the estate's value has gone through the roof since she died. The house's value kept going up while Kip Goins stayed there until he moved abroad to be with his daughter a few years ago. This is what made people try to sell the house again, which was offered for $9 million last year. The property's future is now uncertain, and the estate is in a legal fight because Remick's children want to choose a new trustee to run the estate. Even so, the Osterville house is still a place where people hold dear memories. The house will always have a special place in Remick Minellian's daughter Kate's heart because she spent many summers and winters there. Lee Remick was a famous actress whose career lasted more than 30 years. She left a lasting legacy through her work in movies, TV shows, and plays, as well as through her charitable work. Lee Remick's net worth was about $10 million when she died in 1991, which was a lot of money for an actor of her time. Her main source of wealth came from her work as an actress. Rake made a lot of money for her work in movies and on TV when she was at the top of her game. In the mid-1960s, for example, she was paid about $400 for a movie part, which was a lot of money for an actress at the time. In addition to this, she also did well in the theater, especially with her Tony Award, winning role in Wait Until Dark, which won her both positive reviews and money. Lee made even more money by starting a production business with James Garner and Peter Dutchow. This was on top of the money she earned as an actress. The money she left behind was given to her husband, Kip Goins, and their 2 children, Kate and Matt. Her family planned how to split her property, which included her beloved home in Osterville, Massachusetts. The house was very important to Lee because she thought of it as her real home. After she died, her family found comfort there. Remick was well known for both her money and her nonprofit work, especially in the area of cancer research. She worked with her close friend, actress Jill Ireland, to raise money for cancer research while she was sick with cancer. Both of the women who were stricken with cancer set up fundraising events to help this cause. Jill died of breast cancer in 1990, which was very sad, but Lee's dedication to the cause did not change. She kept getting people to know about and donate to cancer research, with a focus on new methods. Remick's work for these causes will last forever because it helped people understand how important it is to fund cancer research and care. Lee had a big net worth when she died, but what will be remembered most about her is how she used her wealth to help her family, the entertainment business, and important causes. She was taken from us far too soon, which is sad. It's hard to think about where she could have gone with her work if she hadn't died so young. Who knows? If she were still alive, she might be making hit movies right now, but enough from me. It's your turn now. Which of Lee Remick's movies do you like the most? Please tell us what you think in the space below. Don't forget to show us some love by liking this video and joining our channel if you haven't already. Remember to tap the bell button to get alerts when we post new videos. That way you'll never miss one. Enjoy your time, and we'll see you soon.